following may be based on fact, fiction, science, or otherwise. We present that which is researched and that which is believed to be accurate and true. Professor Truth, guests, and associates may not agree on all viewpoints expressed, implied, or misunderstood by the reader or listener from the content communicated in any format. The information presented is for educational and philosophical purposes only, based solely on the spiritual precepts of the King James Bible as elucidated by the original language word studies and the anointing of the Holy Spirit of Jesus Christ, Father God in the flesh. Isaiah 9:6. The SCET Chronicles will go where no one has gone before. Due to the extreme nature of the content presented, it is important to pray before watching or listening to this series as we deal with the supernatural reality and warfare that comes against mankind. As with all of the shows which Professor Truth produces, the SCET Chronicles' purpose is to expose the reality of the nefarious war ongoing for the born-from-above souls of our Creator, Jesus Christ. We really do live in a matrix designed to blind the minds to the spiritual battle raging with diversions and distractions. Seek God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and have no other gods before Him. Pray the blood of Jesus Christ as your covering and the Holy Spirit as your guide. Finally, put on the full armor of God as described in Ephesians chapter 6. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, having your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, and taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. Take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Pray always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. In Yeshua HaMashiach's name, and by the blood of Jesus Christ, we pray. So be it.
As alien.
All right, here we go. Let's see how the phone connection is. It's going to be Skype to landline.
Hello?
Greg?
Yeah.
Hello, Greg. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Good, good. Hey, Daniel Ott from the Edge Television Broadcast.
Hey, Dan. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty.
Been a while.
It has been a while, my old friend. You are probably one of our most requested guests ever. I don't know how many times I've seen in the live chat. I've seen personal messages come through. They say, when you going to have the Lieutenant Colonel Greg Rinstich back onto the program? And here you are. So welcome back.
I'm here.
All right. Well,
and remember, there's about a second and a half delay in my phone because I got a satellite phone, so that we don't talk over.
Okay. Yeah, it does have a little bit of static in the background, but that's what we got, so we're going to deal with it.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome back, Greg. And, there's a lot of things going on. I did a little bit of a ranting point. Started off the program talking about the Jade Helm invasion of the federal government against Southwest Texas, in particular, in the Southwest, in particular, against the Texas governor, because the governor is trying to respond by having his National Guard keep an eye on the government jackbooted thugs that are infesting this country in some kind of Nazi-like takeover. What do you make of the Jade Helm operation?
Personally, I think that they're not really watching them. I think that they're letting more come over here than what you think freely. Anytime the government's involved in so-called watching something, they're not really watching it. They're monitoring what comes in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah, they're not watching. They're monitoring. So
that's all they do is they monitor.
Now, how many levels of monitoring do you think there is besides just the phone taps and are there drones and satellites? What's going on?
All of it. There's drones, satellites. I see drones around here once in a while. I've had unusual amount of military activity flying over our house. I mean, it used to be, about once a week or so, the helicopters, but now it's like every day, and they're flying in formation, going back and forth and back and forth. And here a couple of weeks ago, one night, one of them was going towards the east from my house, and there was a UFO in front of it.
Well, I'm just wondering if our drones, maybe drones are just really just sort of the devices of the UFOs. Maybe they have their own sort of looking like, maybe like a Amazon drone or something like that. And so how do we know the difference between the military drone and a UFO drone sitting down to fool us?
I don't really think we can tell the difference.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that those drones...
I really don't think we can.
Do you think those drones could deliver is that like a bacteriological bomb or something like that to infect us? Or
yeah, I was just telling somebody the other day that worries me more than anything. They came out the other day and said that the Ebola crisis wasn't over by far and that we could be headed for a much worse one. And what worries me is, the ISIS terrorists over here, I think they're a little bit smarter than using bombs anymore over here or trying to use airplanes. I think drones delivering biological and chemical weapons is what they're going to do next. I really do.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I saw a couple little...
And not only me, a lot of my friends that I talked to in the Air Force are telling me the same thing.
Yeah, it does sound like a pre-planned event here. All right, we got a number of questions coming in. Let me get to one. First of all, I want to let you know that I saw various people in the live chat say they love you. Glad to have you back on the program.
Well, I appreciate it a lot. I'm just going to say this is why I've been off for a while. I really got a rash of threats from the last time we did it. It was pretty unbelievable, and it put me and my wife and Sergeant Elvis through literal hell. It just, they just wouldn't let up on my phone, ringing off the hook in the middle of the night and hanging up, and then calls coming in to say anonymous and all this other stuff, and it just broke us down for a while. So then I thought about it, and I thought, I can't let them get the upper hand on me like that again.
I'm just wondering if a virus going across the country. You never know if they're manufactured or not. Well, Greg, let's get to some questions here. This is from the from the live chat. It says, why do reptilian camouflage as they get older, and can they die? Do they die naturally by old age?
No, they can't. I told us on another show, they're interdimensional beings, and they are physical, but they've never lived. And when they come into the physical realm, you can kill them. But they're so quick to disappear or shapeshift into a man that sometimes you just can't do it. It's real difficult to do it, to kill one. Mm-hmm. And they don't die because they've never lived.
Whoa. So are they dead or alive?
They're like demonic. They're demonic. Demons and angels and different things. Demons, they not only hate you, they want to be you because they've never lived. In other words, they haven't lived a flesh and blood air breathing life. They live on another reality, on a different plane. Mm-hmm. And so they're real difficult to control. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine that works in Dulce, that I very seldom get to contact, he contacted me about a month or so ago, told me that around 1,800 reptilians had escaped from Dulce, and some of the craft were missing along with it. And they had a rash of some murders that have been kept under wrap. I don't think anybody will find out about it in Apple Valley, California. And then I heard that he said that they found some and weren't able to recapture them in the subway systems in New York. So there's 1,800 of them that they had down there that are gone. and some of the craft is gone as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, if a damn reptilian manifests in my presence, I'm gonna blast him before he gets to escape out to some other dimension. All right, here's another question for you from DC Doug out of the live chat. Are reptilians live-born eggs, as a reptilian would be, or are they cloned?
They clone each other, but the bottom line is they can shapeshift in whatever they want. The cloning operations, to set the record straight, isn't really about making more reptilians or grays or whatever. It's about breeding them out. It's about making them into hybrids that look like us, that can fit in with society. And so the reptilians, they are what they are, and they'll never change. They're vicious, they're evil, and they don't have anything good in them. There is no such thing as reptilian that has any good intentions whatsoever. So they are what they are. The cloning operations are to breed them. They're trying to breed themselves out, cash in on something that lives, you see. Mm-hmm. That's why they abduct people and it's in people's babies.
Mm-hmm. Do reptilians actually eat people?
Yes.
Wow.
Actually eat them. And I mean, there's just another way to say it. I could say, well, they do they slowly take them apart. They wait till they're dead. They don't do that. That's their food supply. They'll eat anything that's alive, but they will eat you. I mean, if you come in contact with one and you walk away, you're a lucky person.
Now, how many have you killed any aliens yourself?
Yeah, we killed some down in Dulce. We killed quite a few. They're real resentful and hateful, and they don't even like each other. They hate each other. So it's a constant thing to keep under control. Like people that accidentally go down there and get in firefights, they're getting caught in the crossfire between a firefight between the security and the aliens, and it's an ongoing, non-stop thing down there. It just goes on and on and on. So when they tell you, when you get the job there, they tell you that you're going to be under continuous pressure, is how they put it. And you find out what kind of continuous pressure it really is once you get down there.
So
it's a constant thing.
Okay. Now go over the firefight that you had with the aliens. How did that go down?
Well, what it is in my case, I felt threatened, and we had authorization if we felt threatened in any way, shape, or form that we could kill anything, including another human being that threatened bodily harm, because they have their own little their own little group of Nazis down there, per se, for lack of better words, and people too. And to be honest with you, whenever I was around one, I always felt threatened, if that gives you an indication of how much we shot them.
Now,
and you got to use a copper bullet to do it with. It has to be totally copper, otherwise it doesn't work.
Copper bullet. Now, what is it about copper? Isn't that one of the ingredients in organ? So isn't copper a main ingredient of organ?
I don't know what's in organ.
Okay.
You know, I think it's a Sherry Shriner thing, and what got me about that was she talked about she went and through the gates at Area 51 and at Dulce, right?
Yeah. There
is no gates at Dulce. There's entrance tunnels. There's entrance ventilation holes. And the only thing, if you were to stick, even today, because they blindfold us when they helicopter you in, and if you were to stick me there today, I'd be completely lost wandering around there. Dulce is a little pile of rocks, the office is, with a 12-inch concrete slab that goes across about 9 feet above you. And then there's 2 glass doors, the only way in and the only way out. And to the right is an office, a pretty good-sized office with administration in it, and then there's an elevator door. And that's all there is to it. There is no gate. So when she talked about, barging through the gates of Dulce in Area 51, I don't know what she was talking about because there is no gates. Because if you go down here, if you stray and go down in there, you're not coming back up. They're not worried about you. You're not going to come back up. So they don't have no reason to put a gate there. It just draws attention.
Now, how many levels down is the Dulce base?
When I was there, it went down 7 levels, and on the 7th level was Dolores. That's where all the failed experiments, and when I was there was a cryogenics laboratory there where they froze certain things, but they had humans that looked like they had wings and hoofed feet and all this stuff down there that's alive, and some of them would be crying with real tears now, banging on the glass, saying, help me, and we were told that they were failed experiments and they were dangerous as the reptilians, but I now that I look back on it, I don't know if I believe that or not.
I'm just wondering if that may be in where Obama was hatched from. All right, going to this question here. Was Apollo 20, and this is from the live chat, I believe, was Apollo 20 an operation to recover human hybrids from a spaceship?
That's what I understand from Area 51. Now, like I said, Area 51, 90 to 95% of Area 51 is the administration, which you can see with the naked eye, the buildings and all. All that's administration, and pretty much everything it's S4 behind there. It's S4 and Grimlock. That's where everything happens. But at Area 51, that's where they classify, information and stuff. It's a big classification center. And I had access to a lot of that, and that's how I know that much of it from seeing the papers.
Now, is there any alien cooperation with the government involved with this Jade Helm or this Robin Sage attacks?
It's a reptilian agenda.
Okay, you said the whole
it's
thing
totally
is
a reptilian agenda.
Okay. Alrighty. By the way, for those of you new to the program, you can send your questions in by clicking on the Fast Blast link. Join them in the live chat, put your question in there, or you can send me a private Facebook message over there if you're a Facebook fan. All right. Kentucky Girl in the live chat wants to know, what is under the Denver airport?
The same thing that's under Dulce. And I used to know where the elevator door was, unless they've moved it or whatever. I couldn't tell you how to get to it, but I've been in there. And the underground explosions that they heard under there was the expansion that they were doing. It's pretty much the same as Dulce, and Daniel, pretty much all of them are the same as Dulce. If it's underground and they're hiding it from you, it's not a bunker. I'll tell you that. They've got them down there for a reason, and they've got these underground places. And Denver is an interesting place because there is a lot of activity that goes on there. There's a lot of nighttime UFO activity that people don't really see because they can shapeshift. The craft themselves can go into a parallel dimension and make itself look like an airplane and shapeshift right back. But it's a really busy place, just like Dulce. And the thing about the international airport is they've created more of a conspiracy theory there that everybody, just like when Area 51 first came out. Now we all know it exists now.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the newer version of Area 51, where it's just a conspiracy theory, but it's not really. It's a conspiracy reality. They really are doing the same things that they're doing at Dulce and at the other staging areas, S4, S7, S9, all them other places. They're all doing the same thing, and they all interconnect. And they're doing an expansion to interconnect to not Dulce, but another new place that's in New Mexico, and I don't even know the name of it.
DC Doug wants to know, what is their agenda?
Oh, the aliens? Well, the reptilian and the Greys, their agenda is to wipe us out. And I know a lot of people disagree with that, but here's what I heard. I sat through and watched because of security, me and 9 other guys in a room with 3 generals and 2 scientists that were interviewing this reptilian, and they are all too glad to tell you what their agenda is. And they don't use the word God, they use the word universal law. And universal law is your God-given right. In other words, this is what I heard right out of their mouth, was that they plan on destroying us, and then they were going to go in their ships and go outside of in space and stay up there for 10 years and let us all rot so that they didn't have to deal with it, and then come back and eat the rest that were alive. And that it was our right to stop them, but we wouldn't. This is what he said. It was our universal law, according to universal law, it was our right to stop them at any time, but we won't. And they know that we won't. And you can stop them if you see them from coming at you. They feed on fear. And even though I've seen them, I still fear them. And so it's hard for me to sit here and tell somebody, don't be afraid of them, because they're pretty scary characters. They can shapeshift in anything. This one was shapeshifted into a human. It was obvious his eyes looked like an alligator, but his teeth didn't look like teeth. They looked more like needles. I never seen anything like that before. And he was actually bleeding from the mouth where the needles were punching his gums when he was talking. And he never could look you in the eye when he answered you. Well, 2 weeks later, they interviewed the same one, and he contradicted himself. He told the same story of annihilation, but first he came from this solar system, and then I guess he forgot that he came from that one, because 2 weeks later he was from another one. And they were going to stand outside the earth for 10 years and let us rot, and the second time it was 5 years he was going to let us rot. So they're liars. You can't trust any of them.
Now,
their agenda is basically to wipe us out.
Now, are they also involved with things like chemtrails and say maybe even fluoride in the water? Are they trying to poison us? What's their main goal? Are they going to zap us with some kind of death ray, or starve us, or cause some kind
all
of
the
fungal
above?
infection?
They're going to do whatever they can when they get their day in court. When they get their day, they're going to do everything they can. And, that's why I try to tell people that, trying to find out knowledge and all you can is what you should do, but trying to contact them or summons one to you is something you shouldn't do. The chemtrails, Edward Snowden said to the Washington Post that the whole United States government was controlled, and he also included China and Russia, that they were all controlled by extraterrestrials. Now, that came from Edward Snowden to the Washington Post.
Greg, in the movie Contact with Jodie Foster, they downloaded plans from the aliens, and the military guy said this could be a Trojan horse. Just we build this thing, and then the aliens just come through. Is the Hadron Collider similar to that? Is that going to be like a portal for the alien invasion to come through?
Well, here's what concerns me about that, and I do have a friend that's a scientist that works at the Collider. There's some things he tells me, and he won't tell me everything because he knows I'll say something. But I'll never give him up. I'll die before I tell him who it was. But he told me that he had a concern because they were going to try to create a black hole. And I asked him, I said, well, what's the concern about that? He goes, well, if a black hole sucks everything in, and light included, if they create a black hole, is it going to start sucking everything in? So that was his concern, and he works there.
Once that door is open, will it be able to be closed?
No, that's why he said that he was concerned they couldn't close that door. You open a black hole, you couldn't get near anything fast enough to close it. It's too late. Now, I don't think the whole Earth is going to be sucked in. He does because he's a scientist. But it's not out of the realm possibility that it sucks everything within a 100-mile radius or something like that into it. I mean, I don't know. I just know what a black hole is, and he had real deep concerns about how he could get out of the project, and he's so high up in the field that they won't let him out. They won't let him go. He said they've made threats, he signed contracts and all this other stuff, and he makes a couple $1 million a year, if not more, and he said that he would give it up and rather live in a shack than stay there, because he said it took him a while to build it, and first they were going to do something like collide some protons together or something, and then it came into this theory of a black hole, and now they're totally focused in making a black hole.
All right, we have this question. Will an asteroid impact the Atlantic Ocean in September of this year?
Now, I don't see it happening, but it could, I guess. I'm not an astronomer, but I know that we're going to get impacted by an asteroid, and I wish I could remember the number of it. It's definitely, it's past the 70% range now that it's going to hit the United States. Now, not the Atlantic Ocean, but it said the U.S. And so, I really don't know. I couldn't honestly elaborate on that right there, because I know there's one coming that's hit the United States, but I don't know when, how far off it is. But one hitting the Atlantic Ocean in September this year, I guess that could be possible. I mean, Nibiru's pretty close.
Well, it seems like that thing's always circling on the planet. Hey, here's...
Yeah, that's wild. Some of the pictures I've seen of it behind the sun really kind of blows my mind.
The demon component of the alien infestation, are they going to be engaged in a battle with Jesus in any way?
In my book, they are, but I'm a Christian. I can't speak for everybody else. You see, I'm a born again Christian. You've always known that, and my opinion is that's what the ultimate war is going to be. But that's not everybody's opinion. But I think 100% that that's what's going to happen. But I think that they're going to have so many years to destroy us before he steps in.
Well, in the last week, there was a lot of articles and news reports saying that the church-going or the Christian part of America, the Christians are decreasing by vast amounts. Do you see this happening, and is this sort of some kind of falling away that's going to precipitate the return of Jesus?
Absolutely, I see it happening, especially when you read the Bible. Now, I believe the Bible's 100% absolute truth, as any born-again Christian does. And it talks in there, what was the last straw for Sodom and Gomorrah and all these places that he destroyed?
They went
homosexuality.
Gay. Yeah, they went gay down there.
Yeah, well, they went gay down here, too. So it's now it's the transgender, let's all embrace it. I'm not, I don't hate them. I just hate what they do. And I hate homosexuality. I don't hate the person themselves. Right. It's just it was always God's last straw, and when he allowed destruction to come, it was utter and ultimate destruction. And I just kind of believe that that's a sign of the very end. I believe that is going to be the last straw.
Mm-hmm. All right, we have this question.
And everybody's falling away.
Okay. All right, got another question from James West out of the live chat. Lieutenant Colonel, is there anyone that you know, prominent men or women, who are really aliens in government?
Yeah, we know that the Bushes were, and that the Clintons are, and there's a lot of bloodlines that go to Yale and come through that Skull and Bones and the Bohemian Grove. They're all reptilian bloodlines. How much control do they really have? I don't think anybody in this country has control. I think it's completely controlled by the three-strand DNA community. I don't think that we have any say in it. I don't think our vote counts. I think that that everybody that's in power is a reptilian in their DNA, and I don't think there's anything we can do about it. Their agenda's already pushed in motion, and because it's been so successful with the wars and the things that they wanted to do, there's no reason for the people that are in power to believe otherwise, that they won't succeed. So they will try to bring the one world government down on us, and they will succeed, and that will just further their egos, thinking that they can go for the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. We had a guest on the program that said they were out in the woods and they saw Sasquatches, and they were two female ones, and they were lesbians. Are reptilians, do they ever turn gay, or are they gay, period?
They don't have a sex, male or female.
So they can't turn gay?
I mean, two lesbian Bigfoots, I don't know.
Well,
I know that Bigfoot's not an animal. It's an interdimensional being, Bigfoot. I had a friend that told me that he seen a film of one, or seen it in person anyway, going up a tree, that they'd put an apple in a tree, and as he reached for the apple didn't pluck from the tree, it just disappeared. So they're not either sex. That's just baloney there.
Oh, okay. There have been a large amount of earthquakes. There's a website that shows them, and they seem to be increasing. Is this because of fracking, or is it because the aliens are building so many bases underground that they're interfering with the tectonic plates?
I believe it's both, but the aliens, they know what they're doing, and if there's an earthquake because of it, they caused it purposely, and I assure you that none of them got hurt. And you can only suck. When you're sucking all the oil and all the water and all this out of the ground, it's gonna move. And you watch the Weather Channel, all these floods and stuff. When man builds a city, he tries to reroute the water, and it's not going the way nature intended water to go. And so all these voids aren't filling back up like they would on a regular cycle, and so they're falling in with sinkholes, and you got the earthquakes, and it's just a sign that. And some of those sinkholes, what they do is they bore when they're doing the underground tunnels, and they bore so many miles a day. And then they use a laser that comes behind it, and it turns the wall into a shiny, glassy coat, and it goes around and around. Wow. And in fact, not once in a while, quite a bit, I've been in Dulce when they misgauged a boring operation, and they stopped where it was, and they dynamited it and let the end of it cave in, then they concrete and sealed it off right there. Well, that created a sinkhole. One of them created a sinkhole 6 months after they did it, about 50 meters around and about 200 feet deep. But it was from a miscalculation of boring, and I think that's going on all over the place, because they tell you on the news the water underground eroded it, but when you look down in the hole, I don't see no water. It's funny that them things collapsed. There's no water to be seen.
We discussed the sexual proclivities of the reptilians, and somebody in Massachusetts has this question from the Fast Blast. Do reptilians ever shower, go to the bathroom, take a dump, anything like that, or how do they do all that?
I don't know. I've never seen one do either. They smell like burning sulfur. They really smell bad. It's just an awful smell. And when they're around, but when they shapeshift into a man, the smell goes away. But they don't like doing that because it's hard for them to maintain that integrity of a man. It's very hard for them to do. They only do when they absolutely have to. But they smell like burning sulfur, and when they leave a room, there's actually a film of smoke in the room. You can't really see it coming off of them. I don't know if it's a pheromone that they blow out of their nose or mouth or whatever, but I've never seen one take a dump or do anything like that. They're just, they don't never require sleep, and so they just eat and move about, but I've never seen anything with feces or anything like that, or mating or anything like that.
All right. I have another question from guest 411. What exactly is underneath the Denver airport? Somebody else asked that question earlier, but do those tunnels connect to Washington, D.C. or to Area 51?
Oh, yeah. They've only got like 2 tunnels that connect to Washington. It's the 2 tunnels that connect there that connect to everywhere else. But that's what they were doing. People thought, when they heard the rumbling and the explosions under there, it's a relatively new spot. And so they're still developing it. And so you're going to hear that stuff under there. And, they have slave labor in there by the aliens that abduct people or people that stray in there. And plus they do it themselves. The reptilians, the Greys, they're all working on this, together with one goal in mind, to interconnect them all. So they think that some of them think that they can be under the surface and survive the coming catastrophes. Well, I really don't know if that's possible. Maybe it is. But their ability to go into another dimension is what's going to, save their numbers and allow them to come and try to destroy the Earth.
All right, DC Doug has this question. What about the earthquake in Virginia in 2011? But there's a lot of them. I don't know how one could pinpoint as an effect of the alien activity. They're all around. Is that just showing is that sort of quantifying the actual amount, the scale of the alien invasion?
Yeah, you can't say that all of them are, but I would go as far as to say that 75% of them are.
All right. Then we have this question from the live chat as well. Is the bloodline of Cain the hybrid reptilians, the terrors they speak about in the Bible?
Yep. Whoever asked that got it right on the head. It's the bloodline of Cain. The seed of Cain is the evil seed. And everybody says, oh, well, the devil or the serpent didn't it. Well, the Bible, at least, now I believe what the Bible says. Some people don't. But it pretty much confirms that he had a seed as well as us. And so the seed of Cain is the evil seed, and it is the reptilian bloodline.
Mm-hmm. Where do the Greys fit on it? Are they like the servants, the slave dogs, or maybe the harem of the reptilians?
Yeah, you know what? I've seen some real tall Greys and the praying mantis looking things, and I've seen the short Greys, and it seems like, well, I know for a fact that the reptilians are in control of all of those that I mentioned, but the taller Greys seems like that they have more power over the smaller Greys. Mm-hmm. And anything other than reptilian or Greys is a lower species of alien.
Well, I find the insectoid type reptilians particularly annoying, and I'd like to snap their necks right off. But I mean, I don't mess with them because it's like, some of them got some real bad smells, like you mentioned. All right, here's a question. This is interesting. I've never seen this, but will the term, I'm going to spell it for you so I don't get it wrong, but it looks like Vinuru, Vinuru, will that make a reptilian shift from a human to a reptilian?
I don't know what that term is to elaborate on it.
Is there anything?
I
saw somebody in the live chat ask the question. They said, how do I know my neighbor or my annoying spouse or my employer or maybe even the president or Hillary Clinton for sure, but how do we know they're reptilians? Is there anything we can do to cause them to manifest?
Anger manifests them. You can tell them by the hatred. They have no empathy for anybody. They hate everything and everybody. It's just like, when you're around one, you just can't understand that kind of hate. You know what I mean? If you have a neighbor that's one you may not even know, I believe that's going to be part of the one more government that some of our next door neighbors are actually aliens and we just don't know it. Mm-hmm. But I think that they're schooled and fit in hybrids.
Mm. Is there anything we can do to trigger them to manifest, to shapeshift?
The only thing I know when we were down underground was anger does it, makes them, threatens them, using the name of Jesus, whether you believe in him or not. You're not allowed to use that name. In fact, you got to sign an agreement saying that you won't even use that name in anger, because that makes them manifest. It really makes them go ballistic. You can say the word God, but as soon as you say the word Jesus, they go pretty ballistic on you. Mm-hmm. I mean, there is a chain of command down there, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we mentioned that there's no evidence that the reptilians go to restroom or anything, and I'm just wondering, thinking about Walmart and their lame-ass excuse that they're going to rebuild these. The plumbing went bad in all these Walmarts. Obviously, they're setting those up to be detention camps for Jade Helm and other governmental martial law operations. But I'm just wondering, are they taking the plumbing out? Because when you got reptilians running the thing, you don't need restrooms.
Well, I just think it's a dry run for the FEMA camps, to be honest with you. I have a friend who's a sergeant major, said he'll never shop at Walmart again. And he's kind of got me inclined to believe this guy's really in the know about a lot of things, and that's one of them. And, I just haven't really went deep into it with him to find out. Mm-hmm. But I know that his strong belief, and I do have a tendency to believe with him, is that this is a dry run for FEMA, and that Walmart is going to be the one that controls the food distribution. Mm-hmm. They're part of FEMA, and there's just no doubt about it.
Okay, and we have this question for you. It says, will the aliens manifest themselves, I suppose, in some sort of disclosure, or will Satan manifest himself first?
No, the aliens will first. When they Daniel, they feed off fear. In other words, the more fear you put out, the stronger willed they are against you. So if you see a man standing there, just a regular, ordinary man, and all of a sudden he turns into a reptile-looking thing, it's going to scare you to death. And that's what they want. It's the surprise of it all. And that's why people, of course, even me, I'll be scared when it happens, but you have to be able to know what people are telling you and put it together to pull yourself together. People like me and other guests that you have on the show trying to tell everybody what's coming, and they just don't want to listen. A lot of people don't want to listen. They don't have an open mind, and when it comes, don't come knocking on my door because I done told you, this was coming. And the best way to combat that is to just get yourself ready, for the moment of fear. Don't let them seize your moment, you seize theirs. They'll have their moment of fear, and pull yourself together, because I was telling a friend of mine today that, there's only a few people alive right now, like me, that came out of that worked in the underground bases in New Mexico, Colorado, Nevada, and all these places. And when we die, I don't see very many new people coming up out of there talking. Do you?
No.
So when we're gone, there's going to be nobody left to tell you what's fixing to come out of there. They're not down there to stay down there and just do what they're doing. They have an agenda just like we have an agenda. We want to make a better life for ourselves, blah, blah, blah. They want to destroy us. And they shoot down nuclear weapons, and my thought on that is that they want our structure standing as well. They want us gone, but they'd like to have all our structure standing. They don't want nuclear war unless they dish it out. And I believe that at the end, when they see that they're going to lose, they will dish it out.
Okay. All right, let's go to another question for you. Will aliens offload onto our planet when Planet X crosses our orbit?
That's possible. That's very possible. I've never seen any documentation of that, nor have I heard it with my ears. I'd be lying if I said I was, but I suspect that they will. They can live on Nibiru. They've got ships to get close to the sun because they're going to burn in hell anyway. So why wouldn't I think that they wouldn't be on the moon and Mars, and we wouldn't be there, and on Nibiru, at Planet X, and Nibiru, whatever you want to call it, and be sitting up there in way more numbers than they are here, just waiting for the right time. Maybe the ones that are here are supposed to do the dirty work for the ones that are coming. Well, I could see where it would be hard for some to believe it, you know. But I can say this, that I was pretty traumatized by what I know. I wrote somebody the other day and told him I wished I never seen what I seen, never heard what I heard. And it's real easy for me. I don't only believe it, I know it's going to happen. I just can't tell you when, but I know that I'm seeing different things happen that they said underground would happen prior to this. And I think a big reboot of the bank's going to happen, and that's what's going to collapse the economy when they have to revalue the money. I don't think it has nothing to do with the stock market right now. It's going to be when the banks reboot, and they have to do all the bailouts when they reboot from people buying bad paper. And so the economy collapsing is 100% going to happen. When? I don't know when it's going to happen. I can only tell everybody what I actually heard with my ears and seen with my eyes, and they can take it for what they will, but I can tell you that the things that I heard this come from were very dark individuals and entities, 10 times worse than Hitler ever thought about being, telling us that these things were going to happen. And they told us about the droughts and the earthquakes would increase in numbers. The drought would be real bad, and the rise of tornadoes in a short span of time would increase. I've heard a lot of things from these things that I can't just lay down and say, well, you know, it may never happen, because I heard them say it, and now I'm seeing it. So there's no reason for me to not think that the rest isn't going to happen.
I had this question come in on my cell phone. It says, would a neutron bomb have the same effect of wiping out all life and yet leave the buildings intact? Because it seems that the aliens Go ahead.
That's exactly the way I think they're going to do it, is with the neutron bomb.
Now, that sounds like
and leave the building standing.
That sounds like a terrestrial weapon. Did the aliens have that technology?
They have further technology than that, but we have stockpiles of it, so why not just use what we already have, you see?
Use our own weapons.
I mean, why let it just sit there? It'll do the same purpose that theirs would. And I seen them fire a weapon once. I told you about that. It was at S4, and we were out by the salt flats, and I remember that they were having they have some kind of an annual rocket show or something at the salt flat we were at, and they ran everybody off this salt flat, and this UFO came in, and it was your regular saucer type looking one with windows on the sides and things, and I'm sitting here, my jaws dropped to the ground, but it comes in, doesn't make a noise, and I mean, it came in a flash. It was just a point of light at one second, and the next second there it was in all its glory, full-fledged, and we had a tank out there, and it just fired like what looked like a laser, but it was clear, and the only way I can describe it is all you could see was like a beam of heat wave. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was as thin as a laser, but clear and blurry. And when it hit the tank, it made no noise. The tank fell down in ashes, and it even left a shadow there.
Would it be like
the shadow of the tank was even there?
Would that be have sort of the power of a Star Trek phaser or a photon torpedo?
It was stronger than that.
Okay.
I mean, this thing just flickered. It just flickered 2 times, and that was the end of it. And it was about 5 miles away.
All right. Now, you've dealt with a lot of life and death situations, especially engaging the alien hordes. How do you deal with the horror? I mean, do you have memories or nightmares, or are they still coming after you?
All the time. All the time. I'm on no medications whatsoever, no pain medications, no medications I don't take except for blood pressure. I take blood pressure pills. I don't smoke cigarettes. I'm on no medications.
Mm-hmm.
So when I have nightmares all the time. What I went through was horrific. And if they paid me $10 million today to go down there for one day, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it for all the money in this planet and everything it contains. I wouldn't go down there again for one day.
There's a lot of speculation that children, the abduction, the massive missing and abduction of children is not necessarily battles between spouses battling it out, that it isn't, they are in fact either offered in occultic rituals of the elite, or they are used as food for the aliens. Which one of them is happening, or are they both happening?
They use the older ones for food, and let me tell you this, I can as eyewitness to this, them bringing hordes, and when I say hordes, I mean thousands of children in. I feel really bad, but there wasn't nothing, not a thing I could do about it. And I knew if I come up and said anything, everybody was going to think I was nuts, so I never said anything about it. And I kept it to myself. Well, that has haunted me all my life. That's haunted me. And so, or ever since I've been down there, I've been haunted by that. And they use them for food, but they use them mainly in their breeding thing. They try to inject their DNA into the... You there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I did, but I want to clarify. Are you saying that they were having breeding with the children?
Yeah, no, they were taking the children down there and using and manipulating their DNA.
Okay. All right. Somebody said your Facebook says you're working with Blackwater. What's going on there?
Now, there's some people posting stuff on there that's not me. I'm not working with Blackwater.
Okay.
I was working with another private security firm, but it was only for a short while, and it was by the border. And we were just doing things. And so I noticed that there is some stuff on there that's not me. Blackwater? No, not me.
Okay. All right. And here's a question for you. It says, have you seen fallen angels in encasements underground, like in 2 Peter, as it says, it described in 2 Peter?
Yeah. I talked about this once before. There was one, they said it was a Nephilim, and it was really tall. I mean, in the 20-foot range tall, and it looked like it was encased in ice. But when you touched it, it had no feel to it. It felt like just like rough glass, kind of like roughed up glass. But I've seen a lot of fallen angels down there that were walking about, and we were told not to bother them, and they wouldn't bother us. And they didn't look. They didn't look us in the eye, and we didn't look them in the eye. The sheer height of them was so scary. I remember just when I had to walk past it was just all I could muster up to walk to go past it.
Bad.
So yeah, they're down. They're fallen angels, and to be honest with you, they run the whole show down there above the reptilians. Whatever they are. They run it. They run the whole ordeal. But they said they were Nephilims.
Okay. And for those of you who are expecting the 9 o'clock break, this interview is too important. We just had to skip right over it to get more questions in. And here's another question for you. Have you seen giants underground?
Yeah, that's what I was just telling you. I've seen them 20 foot plus under there, and they have their own little well, not little, a big section that's high, high ceiling. And it was very rare that we went near that area, and for some reason, they didn't really want us over there. In other words, our bosses didn't want nobody going over there. Mm-hmm. None of the commanders, they just stay away from there unless you have to pass through. And if you do, they said it was best to just kind of look down at the ground instead of look up, because they knew it would scare us to death. I mean, when you feel like you're the size of an ant when you look at one.
Do you have to have some special clearance to see these things?
It's called, there's a top secret clearance called Cosmic Top Secret, and that it's not just for us, that's NASA too. Anything to do with space is the highest clearance that there is Cosmic Top Secret. And there's some things I can't disclose that I know that I would die over if I said it, because of the agreement on Cosmic Top Secrets. But in the contract, it does not say that I found it funny, but it didn't say that you can't talk about anything. It just says there was, just about a page or two of items they just didn't want us to say anything about, and I'm not going to second guess that, with my life. Mm-hmm. But what I'm telling is pretty critical, because what I've already talked about is the mass of the operation of what's going on, and they're not down there to stay under there. And there's humans down there that are born down there, hybrids, that think that the Earth above us, here on Earth, has been annihilated by nuclear war. And some of them are 30, 40 years old and have never, ever been out, never seen real daylight, never seen anything.
I wonder if that's why the aliens always have these. I wonder if that's why they always have these big black eyes.
I would say that's what it is. You know what? And let me tell you about the Greys too. Those big almond eyes. Yeah. That's a space suit. They have big eyes that are sort of almond shaped, but they're not near as big as the ones that are on the space suit that people talk. That they see these big almond eyes. They have space suits. They do go into space, and they do have suits that they put on, and they have giant almond shaped fronts. And to me, some of that, they're scarier with the suit off than they are with it on, and I think that's to mellow out people and, so that they're not near as afraid. But 99% of the people I've talked to that have been abducted have had a horrific experience with it. Mm-hmm. I've never heard of anybody being abducted for any kind of a good thing.
Now, why do they need to abduct humans? Can't they grow them and molest them that way, or do they just like to molest the live products?
Because they need the DNA, Daniel. They need the body. They need the body to possess, and they need the body to experiment with DNA. Just like cattle mutilations, they take humans and cut parts off and put them on some of their own to see if it'll work. And of course, sometimes it does, I guess, if you want to say it does, but it's horrific, it just, I don't know how to explain it. It's horrifying, and I do have lots of nightmares. I have a lot of problems. I've lost my son over this. He won't have nothing to do with me, neither one of my sons. So I've lost a great deal talking about all this here, and all I can tell you is that they're just real horrific looking. They're just absolutely, there's no horror film that even comes close to it. Okay. Living down there is like going to sleep and then you're being in your worst nightmare and wake up to find out you're really in it.
By the way, the live chat that's going on now with the Edge, they just sent a message saying, tell Peggy that we love her.
Okay, I will.
All right.
I'll tell her.
Okay. And then we have this question. Have you seen the underground cities below the secret government cities? Now, here's the thing about the government cities underneath. They're planning for and making preparations for some big event. Now, they're going to go down into their bases, and they're going to leave us all topside, and whatever happens to us, they could care less. But you know what? I've always said, I'm going to find one of them bases. I'm going to be standing right outside the door. They're going to come out of there sometime.
Yeah, if you go and listen, if you find Dulce's entrance and you go in there, they're not going to stop you from going down in there, bro. They're not going to stop you. It's not like Area 51. That's all a ruse there. That all those buildings, and I'm telling you the truth, every one of those buildings is just, except for about 5% of them, aren't really top secret. Now, it's a classification center, and some of the experiments they do there with rare earth metals, to build aircraft like the F-37 that they just built. They build it out of rare earth metals, and it'll go from 0 to 98,000 feet in 17 seconds. That's one of ours that comes from there. It's the F-37. And that's about as far as I can elaborate on it. But I can tell you this, that it goes so fast, it goes faster than the space shuttle when it's in space, and it skips on the stratosphere like water skips on a rock. And what I've been told is that it can lap the space shuttle.
Well, when those government...
And that's what comes out of Area 51.
Okay. When those government hacks think they're all safe and secure while we're up topside, we're fighting aliens, we're fighting Nazis, we're fighting freaking 30-foot giants coming down in here and neutron bombs, I'm going to find out what can cause an earthquake, and I'm going to shake them out of their damn hole and bring them up out of there like some ants out of a hole.
Well,
I'll be waiting for them.
You know what? They all think they're safe, but believe me, they're part of the menu too. They just don't know it.
There you go. Well, I don't know, man. Your government employees, they seem like they'd have a nasty taste to them.
Yeah, they'll have a nasty taste to them, all right. It's except for a select few. I try to stay away from as many as I can. I'm very selective on. I got a lot of friends, but I'm real selective on military personnel or DOD people that I'll hang around, and just really selective about it because I like the ones that have an open mind and believe the truth. And I have a good friend who's a sergeant major, and me and him are pretty close friends. And the professor, you know who I'm talking about. Me and him are good friends. But a lot of people come up or come to me and say they've been there too, and this and that. When I ask them to describe the first level, they can't even get past that. So, I don't know if they got PTSD from, doing too much paperwork or what, but they sure don't have. They've never been down there, that's for sure.
Speaking of nasty, I was going to say we had a guest on the program that said that the moon was fake. What do you think about all that?
I don't think it was. I think that it's hollow and it's all the other things that they say it is, but I really don't think it's fake. I think God created it, just like He says in the Bible, and that's what I believe. A lot of people don't, and I don't argue with them. I got good friends that don't believe it. We just don't believe the same, but we both respect each other's opinions, and so I believe that God created it, but I do believe that we have bases there and on Mars. I did see with my own eyes time travel. I seen the machine and how it worked, and the whole works. And so there's nothing that leads me to believe that that they're not there. And NASA's got all those blacked out spots on the moon. Well, I've seen pictures of the buildings on the moon unedited in Dulce. They got a big one on the third floor. There's a lot of administration on the floor, and personally, that's where they make a lot of decisions. But that's where they deal with. It's kind of like a middle ground where they deal with the hierarchies of the alien groups. But they got a big picture of it up there in Mars, showing creatures on Mars. But it really surprised me when I seen those buildings. One in there that's even shaped like a swastika. Well, while I was there, they launched a rocket, and I was told that it was a low-yield nuke to strike the bottom of the moon to make it wobble a little bit further into the light in and out because the panels on the buildings needed that light to operate.
Wow.
And that this nuke, but they said when it hit it, that it rang like a bell for months. It vibrated and it sounded like a bell for months.
Which only a hollow moon could do.
which only a hollow or and made of iron.
And what about hollow Earth? Is that do you go with that theory?
Well, after I think it's 35,000 feet, there's hollow, and then there's a core that sits static perfectly in that hollowness. Yes, I do believe that the center of the Earth is hollow and that the core floats in that hollow spot. And it's millions of degrees. I believe it's so hot, and that it just, with anti-gravity or the way that God made it or whatever, it's set up in there and it just floats. The core does. But yeah, I do believe it's hollow to the core. As a matter of fact, so did Hitler, because he built that doomsday machine. And what it was, we found out what it was. It was a boring machine that ran on nuclear power, which they really didn't have perfected yet. Mm-hmm. But it was enough to keep it boring, and they didn't know how to explode uranium, so it had like 3 or 4 tons of uranium on it, and they were hoping that it would go through and hit the core and explode, blow the Earth up. And that was going to be what Hitler wanted to do if he lost the war. He was just going to, and so, I don't know if that thing's born to this day or they stopped it, but I know that that's a fact.
Wow. When the aliens roll, as they're rolling out their agenda, are they communicating with the Earth's governments? Are they sort of negotiating the plan in league with them, or are they dictating what's going to happen?
They're dictating, 100% dictating, but they've lied and promised all these leaders all these great things. I mean, it's real easy to fall into the trap. Number one, not everybody believes in God. Well, let's put it this way. Not everybody believes in the Bible, but most people believe in a supreme being, okay? Mm-hmm. So these guys don't believe in a supreme being. They think they've already met the supreme beings, and so they're easily manipulated into doing what they want done, including the Trade Center and the missile that hit the Pentagon and blah, blah, blah. I mean, we can go on and on about it. They willingly do it and happily do it because they see it unfold, nothing happens to them, and they get lifted up to a higher plane. So, yeah, they dictate what's going to happen. It's been scripted. Listen, I found out that of an event, and I can't really tell you about the event, but this stuff has been scripted. I've seen a picture of 2 towers. I'll just tell you this. I've seen a picture of 2 towers going down to look similar to Trade Center, and both of them breaking in the same place, and the painting was done in 1526.
Mm-hmm. Some people subscribe to a flat Earth theory. What's your thoughts on that?
No, it's round.
Okay. And let's get to a bunch of questions coming in, so I'll just start picking a few of them. Somebody said that, and I can't verify this, it just came up as a question, that I guess maybe Sherry Shriner may have made a claim that you attempted to assassinate her. I think we can dismiss that as a rumor.
Assassinate who?
Sherry Shriner. You assassinating her. That's just a rumor.
No.
That's an internet thing, right?
That's absolutely rumor. Listen, I have nothing left in me for the government. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't assassinate anybody for them now.
I didn't think so.
I mean, I'm done. You know what I mean?
We try to get the truth out on the program, but there's always disinfo out there. People just dropping bombs in there to try to mess things up. So, but those are out there.
Sherry, number one, Sherry Shriner's not my enemy. Okay, we just disagree. And if she was my worst enemy, I wouldn't assassinate her. You understand? I mean, so
yeah.
That and me. Working for Blackwater and stuff, I noticed that stuff too, and you can't stop it. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. But no, I'm not involved into any assassinations.
Right? And
I am involved in organizations that are by the border, and we're not watching for drug dealers or anything. We're watching for ISIS. So that's about all I'm involved in.
And I'm just thinking that it's probably some government shrill disinfo that drops stuff like that, especially to try to feed it into your website or your Facebook account. All right, here's a question.
It is. It has to be the government, because how could you hack into my picture, my my Facebook page and all that, and put that up there without it being government?
Okay. And this question from Kevin in Massachusetts: do reptilians prefer a particular race of humans when they chow down?
They don't prefer a particular race of anything. If it's got blood in it and it walks and it's warm, they eat it.
As long as it's crunchy?
They're cannibals. They'll eat each other.
Well, now that's cannibalism.
And we
that's
were told,
cannibalism you can use.
Yeah, when we were in Dulce, we were told to keep that from happening because it makes a mess and causes conflict and trouble for them. And then they would say, and then we have to renegotiate on the third floor. That's what they used to tell us.
Here's a great question. This is from Philip in Georgia, from the Fast Blast. Asks, will NASA build an Orgone dome to protect itself from an alien invasion?
Nah. I don't even, you know what? I still don't know what Orgone is. And, you know, what really got me was...
You survived without it, obviously.
Well, it's the bursting in, tearing down the gates and being invisible. There is no gates. I know where she's talking about. I've been there, and that just tells me that
right.
I don't agree that she's been there.
Okay. And
so I don't know about anything about Orgone.
Okay. For those of you just joining the broadcast tonight, we have on our newsmaker line Lieutenant Colonel SC, otherwise known as Greg Rensich. If you have a question for Greg, you can click on the Fast Blast link or join him in a live chat, or you can go into the our Facebook account and private message. By the way, I see a message did come in for you from Teresa in Mississippi. Greg, she says hi. Teresa.
Yeah, hello. Teresa.
All right, there you go.
God bless you.
All right, here's a question: How do we stop the war with the aliens? Is it inevitable, or do we have any chance to win against them?
Well, no. Like I said, they told us, according to universal law, which to break that down is your God-given right, is that you can stop them. It's just that we won't. We won't stop them. They'll run in fear, and they'll turn to the government. That's where FEMA's got the upper hand in everybody. See, when some kind of cataclysm like that happens and we get attacked from outer space or whatever, or however it's going to be orchestrated, everybody's going to, where's FEMA? Well, I'll tell you where FEMA is. The same place they were when Katrina hit. They weren't nowhere to be found. So, you know, everybody's going to run to the government, and they're not going to be there for them because the government's going to be hiding. Nobody's coming for you. You're on your own. And you can live through all this if you take heed to some of the warnings that some of us are telling us. A good place to start is the Euphoria Chronicles on Facebook. It's UFO and then Euphoria Chronicles.
Okay.
That has probably the best place. It's a closed site, but it's probably the best place to get on if you have an open mind to find out some of the things that I already know. There's some pretty intelligent people on there. It's probably one of the best sites I've ever been on. Mm-hmm. So that's a good place to start, you know, to get more information beyond what I can say.
All right, we have this question from Bob in Arkansas. It's from the Fast Blast. It says, in some circles, there's a seal on the forehead of some humans working below. Are you aware of this seal or this symbol, and do you know what it looks like?
No, everybody that I ever met, now they may be doing it now, but everybody I ever met was chipped. We weren't. You know, we didn't exist. You can't call it. Well, you know who I'm talking about when I say the professor, do you not? You got to be in the clique. You've had to have been there to know that other people are there. And I'm telling you, when I was there, nobody had a mark. They were chipped, but we weren't. Why, I don't know. They just didn't. But everybody had, all the employees. I guess we were morally, believe it or not, we were considered more of an outside contractor to them. Mm-hmm. In other words, Army or not, it didn't matter. Something happened to us, they just explained it away in some heroic way over in Iraq or something, you know what I mean? But I never seen nobody that had a mark on them down there on their right hand or their forehead or anything like that. They did have chips in them, though, to keep track of them, but that was about it. And that's how we kept track of them. And I guess they didn't want us to have chips so that I didn't track my own guys, thinking I was tracking something else.
By the way, I saw something pop up in the Fast Blasts, or in the live chat. It says, the professor has your back.
Yeah, that's him. You know who it is.
Now I know. It threw me for a loop there. Yes.
Yeah,
now I
that's
know. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty high up there.
Yeah.
So,
okay. All right.
but anyway, yeah, he's always got my back.
All right. We have this question for you. Is David Icke part of the reptilian agenda?
Well, you know, I at first I didn't believe it when I first started hearing him, but he knows how to levitate, and I don't know no regular human being that can stand there and levitate like that. I've seen it, and it was just unbelievable. And he has some powers that are a little bit off the wall that would make me think that he's like more of a public relations spokesman for the Illuminati or the Reptilians than he is a whistleblower.
Okay. Somebody said, will IBM start the Mark of the Beast?
Yes. I don't know how they found that out, but it is IBM. And we heard that it was going to be literally a tattoo, a barcode.
All right. And this question came in. Is Israel a friend or an enemy? And are they tied in with reptilians?
Well, the real Jews of the Bible are not in Israel.
These crazed Muslims that's hacking everybody's heads off, are they part of the alien agenda?
Yeah, they're just, Allah, believe it or not, is the moon god. That's who Allah is. It's the moon god. That's why they have a picture of the crescent moon. It's the moon god, and that's what they worship. Well, that right there, the Prophet Muhammad was a reptilian, and so is Allah. Their moon god is a reptilian, and they are seeing these prophets come down in the shape of a man when they're not. But they're so easily swayed, the Muslims are so easily swayed that what they're doing is right, that is the first course of action, is to gather the masses that believe already and gather them up to cause problems. Not that we can't wipe them out. We could. It's just they want them to cause problems, so we are limited in what we do, and they are already talking to reptilian leaders that they think are human.
Ricky Caven from California says, are you ready to go to Alaska?
Yeah, I am. I know, Rick. Yeah, Rick, I am. I'm not ready to go to Alaska yesterday.
All right, here's a question for you. Are the aliens under rules of engagement and therefore need to make weapons to fight Jesus Christ's return?
Yes, they are under. This is what they said, that they can't do anything right now because they're under the restrictions of universal law. Now, when they told the scientist who was there, said, what is universal law? And he said, it's a God. They can say the word God. They just don't want it's Jesus that gets them. It was a God-given right. In other words, we have the will and the power to stop all this, but we won't. So it's universal law that all this is going to happen. This has already been said, and they will get their day. And they tell us that we don't know when day that's going to be, but it's soon, that we're waiting for our leader. And when he comes, then we'll be able to deal with you.
All right, here's a question for you. It says, is it possible that an energy weapon was used to attempt to kill Jeff Rentz?
I don't know. It's possible. Anything's possible. I mean, they use them all the time now. I know they got one gun I had on there the other day. I put in Euphoria Chronicles that shot 17,000 rounds a second. So that, and they have laser guns. That's already out there. They have EMP guns that have a limited distance to them. These laser guns have a distance that's pretty far. It's several thousand yards, I think. And it can burn a hole right in you, just lickety in 1 second. So, you know, I doubt, you know what, somebody that's well-known and stuff, I doubt if they'll use something like that. You know why? Because it'll open up the fact that they exist.
Well, what about Tom Clancy? Or Michael Hastings? Or Breitbart? These guys were offed.
Well, I might be the next one, but I would say they were hit with a sniper or poison. Listen, I seen a guy under there. He worked for the CIA, and this was at Area 51, and this was up in the admin building, and they gave him this umbrella. And I'm looking at this umbrella and thinking, what is the significance of this umbrella? And he showed me what it did. He goes, you see a little spring there? I go, yeah. He goes, when I walked behind the guy, I hit him right in the calf of his back of his leg, and it puts a capsule in there that you have to look through a microscope with, but it's filled with cyanide, time release. And he said in about 4 hours, I'm long gone and he'll die. So I don't know. The CIA has their own thing. You know what I mean? So they're the ones behind the scenes with the aliens too, doing these things. But it's not impossible that they got hit with some kind of laser weapon or something like you're talking about. It's not impossible, but there's more convenient ways to do it, and that would expose too much right now.
I'll tell you what, if Hillary gets in there, I think we can expect a much bigger Clinton body count.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. They sure are wrapped in that. That's for sure. In body counts, all the suicide and all this. I don't believe none of that for 1 second. They had all them people off.
Yeah. Question for you: have you ever time traveled?
No. Have I seen it? Yeah.
What happened? Somebody go into some kind of device? What did you see?
No. Let me tell you what the time thing looked like. And I'm not going to say what kind of creature they pulled out because everybody would think I was nuts. But
no, go ahead.
They were after a certain kind of creature, and what it was a screen, and it was the best I can remember was 400 inches by 400 inches, and it was square, and it was just like a flat screen TV, and it had 4 lasers that kind of went up and down so fast you couldn't see them going, and it made the laser look like it was a wall all the way around this thing. Then they turned on this machine that hummed real loud, and what it was doing was, I guess, putting the juice to it. Anyway, a guy took a quarter and he threw it up against it, and it bounced off. And so he told the guy, he said, turn it up some more. And so they turned up some more. Well, it's winding by now. We're all having to put earmuffs on, and we're standing there, and they wanted us, armed guards down there. So me and 9 other guys, my regular 9 guys, went down there, and they told us to bring a 50 caliber single shot down there with us in case something went wrong. And so then he threw the quarter back, and it went through the screen and never came out. Then they had this thing that looks like those little things that roll on the ground that the government sends in, with cameras on it, and it can explode a bomb without a human being around. Right. Little robot.
Remote control, right.
And it had an arm on it, okay? And this arm was made of regular metal. It wasn't aluminum or anything. It was steel, and it had a little hand that had 4 fingers on it to clamp down and grab. And I couldn't hardly see the creature that they were going for at first until they pulled it out, but it went in there, and it grabbed down and pulled this thing out, and it wasn't what they wanted, and they screamed, shoot it, and so we killed it. But what perplexed me was the arm that went in came out all rusted up like it was 20 years in there. It had only been in there for a few seconds. I asked them what particular creature they're looking for, and they called it like the Slender Man kind of thing.
They were looking for the Slender Man in there?
Yeah. So it was just like it. It was long arm and everything, but it was more violent than they thought it was going to be, so they immediately told us to kill it, and one of the guys got in trouble because he shot the screen, too. He just took it all out. He didn't want to come back. Anyway, that was the only time I seen it, and I told them I would never go down in there again, that they couldn't even force me to go down there unless they put me in a cage and rolled me in it. But I heard that that's how they were sending people to Mars, and that one guy left for about 15 minutes or 10 minutes, and when they brought him back, he was riddled with anger. I mean, this guy went berserk, and he aged 22 years. He said that he was left up there for 22 years. So, in other words, the professor called it quantum entanglement, is what he called it. And what it is it's time and space. There is no time there. So you could be there, if you're on the other side of that screen, it might seem like 22 years to you, but on this side of the screen, it's only 10 minutes. It's hard to explain. I'm just explaining what I seen.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
That's what I seen.
That's pretty accurate.
That's what I seen.
Pretty in-depth description there.
Oh, yeah, and it gave me nightmares. I still think about that thing. I had dreams sometimes that they're throwing me through that thing. I mean, it was traumatizing. Look, the door we shut was about 18 inches thick behind us, and we were shooting the door, not even thinking that, this isn't going to do no good. Just push the handle and it'll open. That's how scared we were. And when we opened it, that door wasn't open 12 inches, and all of us were trying to stuff ourselves through there like the Three Stooges trying to get out of there.
Yeah, I'd be trying to get the hell out of there.
Oh, my God, scientists were right behind us.
So when
we got out, everybody was out there. They said, hurry up and shut that door in case it's not dead. I was like, oh, my God, what did I just see?
So this Slender Man is more violent and evil than we've ever been told.
Oh, yeah. From what they told me, now, I know what people were thinking, Slender Man, blah, blah, blah. Listen, that's I don't know if they call it that for lack of better words or what, but that's what they called it. And it was so evil. It was just so violent. It had big old sharp teeth and just nasty looking thing. And it was long, probably 15 feet, I don't know, long, and its arms were longer than its body and legs. It was just, I never seen anything like it. All I know is we shot at it, shot the screen, almost shot the scientists for bringing us down there, but we let them out. And we closed up that door, and we were all sitting on the floor, all of us, shaking like a leaf. And the guys that didn't even smoke were lighting up cigarettes. It was unbelievable. Nobody said a word, Daniel. We're in this hallway. When the door shut, it was dead quiet. And there was 9 of us, the scientists, and a couple of military officers, generals sitting there. We're all sitting on the floor. Nobody said a word, but you could hear us all breathing real heavy. And then finally one of my guys goes, what the hell was that?
That's spooky
and
as hell.
Nobody said anything.
Man, that's spooky as hell. So this thing never escaped, right? It's still down in there or what?
It never escaped, but I
you
said,
got the door shut?
How many times have you done that? He goes, well, we've gotten many of those out of there, but they're uncontrollable, so we just turned them loose up top.
So the Slender Man is an uncontrollable evil, and are they trying to escape? So they're trying to escape into our plane, and then wreak havoc, or what's their plan?
Yeah, they go in their plane and they feed on fear, and they kill. They mostly prey on children because children's minds are easy. You have to bring it in through your mind. It's a physical reality, and it can be captured easy on Polaroid film. But I don't know about high definition, but they said that they had done that thousands of times. And I said, well, what did you do with them? And they said, well, we let them out, man. We couldn't control them. We just let them out. So then I hear this thing on the TV about those 2 girls trying to kill their friend over the Slender Man.
Right.
And they're playing it that it's not real. Well, it was real to them, and it was real to me when I seen it.
There are, in movies, there are a lot of monsters that have sharp teeth. Is that because they're duplicating or they're letting us know that these creatures really exist?
Listen, I've seen creatures on some of these shows that really exist. And the Slender Man and being in the found footage films and all that stuff, that thing is real. Mm-hmm. And this thing called the rake is another thing they tried to get out of there that's real, that's uncontrollable. In other words, if they can't control it, they let it loose up top. No lie. I mean, that's like letting a Hitler with supernatural powers loose. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're letting them loose, things that they can't understand or they can't control. Just send it out. Get it out of here.
Now, if one of these Slender Mans gets out, how do you kill him?
You can't.
It's got to be a
why
way,
they shut
Greg.
the
There
door
has
and
got
says
to be a
this
way.
is in case you didn't kill it. They said this is in case you didn't kill it. We'll shut the door. And I looked at the guy. I says, "You mean we didn't kill it?" And he goes, "Well, we'll never know because I'm not opening that door for you again." He said, "One of your guys shot the screen and it just cost us $10-20 million or whatever it was." Mm-hmm. I said, $10-20 million, and you're trying to tell me that you've let thousands of these things up there? He goes, "Oh, we've let some things up there that were worse than that."
Jeez. So,
no lie. I mean,
somebody's got to shut that
I'm
thing
telling
down.
you straight up. I'm telling you straight up, man. That's what they told us.
So
do I have a reason to believe that he was lying? No.
Do you guys, you and your posse, you got enough guys and ammo to go down there and take these things out?
I don't know if they can be. I mean, what I was told was they win or lose the battle with you in the threshold of your mind. Mm-hmm. And they are real, and they come to you like shadow people when you think about them too much. Mm. And that's how they hone in. Well, there's all kinds of things about Slender Man on YouTube. I've looked at some of them. Mm-hmm. And I've seen some of them that look exactly like and it has tentacles that you can't see except sometimes. And I don't know how else to say it. Like almost like an octopus type of thing that comes out of its back. I don't know. It's just crazy. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely mind-boggling, mind-blowing. I don't blame one person on here if they don't believe a word I said. I don't care, and I really don't. You know, if they don't believe it, that's fine. I don't hate them because they don't believe it, but I don't care. I know what I've seen, and I don't want to see it again.
Mm-hmm. There's a creature called a tulpamancer. And this is a creature that, if you think about it, it comes to life. And there are YouTube or there are internet groups that try to summon these entities, and I think some of them have been successful. I wouldn't mess with it.
You can summon just Slender Man through a Ouija board. They said.
So now
and there's other ways to do it too, but that's one of them.
Well, I'm going to, if I ever do something, I'm going to kick his ass for one thing, because I don't want him coming in my realm. So is there like
if you seen what I did, you'd faint dead. Listen, if I had to stay in there another 2 minutes, I'd probably die of fear. No kidding. I was ready to drop dead. My heart was coming out of my chest, and when we came to the top, I went and seen the medic, and he had to give me a shot of clonidine, a blood pressure medicine that I'm on now, for my blood pressure. But he had to give me a shot of clonidine. I thought my heart was going to blow out my chest, and I told them that I needed 10 days to think about it, if I wanted to stay or not. And then they told me, well, you can have 10 days to get over it, but you don't have 10 days to think about it. You signed a contract, and you can't go anywhere until that contract's fulfilled.
Now, speaking of contracts, Greg, are you still under military contract yourself?
Well, I'm under what they call a Secrecy Act, where you can't disclose, certain things, but I do, and they haven't said anything, and I believe the reason is because they want you to know it. They want you to know it. They want you to... See, I'm not trying to spread a rumor of fear. I'm just trying to tell you the facts of the matter, and it is scary, but you can overcome it, by research and listening to people who have seen it, so that when you come face to face with one of these, you don't want to feed on its fear, you just want to get away from it. Just the best thing I can tell everybody is turn around and leave. They won't bother you. It's when you focus on them and you start getting scared, then they have you. Shut your eyes, turn around, and leave.
Well, Greg, this sounds like this episode scared the crap out of you.
Bad. But it did me, and I thought I seen it all.
But you knew that you couldn't just grab your weapon and shoot at them, because that's not going to stop them.
We did shoot at it. We must have pumped 100 rounds, 50 caliber.
Didn't take them down.
I had a bolt action. Me and another guy had a bolt action, and mine only held 8 rounds, and the other guys had automatic 30 and 50. And I mean, they emptied that place. Probably had an inch of brass in before we walked out of there, ran out of there.
Well, you said in the first hour the only way to kill aliens, I guess, was with a copper bullet. Would that have done any good on the Slender Man?
Yeah, but you got to catch them in this dimension.
Yeah, I catch
and they sense. They can sense. I heard that they can sense. In fact, I know they can sense 6 seconds ahead of time. 6 seconds ahead of time, they can sense if you're getting ready to retaliate. So if your fear starts taking over, they can sense that you're getting ready to do something. And then if you do nothing, then they attack. If you hold back your fear somewhat, you can't hold it back all the way when you see something like that.
I don't think
but you
so.
can somewhat pull yourself together and say, if I don't do this, this is going to happen. And so that you hold back your fear far enough that you can hit it with a copper bullet that he's coming at you, because he's going to come at you. Then you've won the ordeal. If not, if you turn around and don't look at it and think of something else and just leave and run, they won't come after you.
Well,
You have to let them in. Just like the black-eyed kids, you can't. I've heard many cases where they've knocked on people's doors and windows and stuff and says, "Let me in," and then they get mad and say, "We can't come in unless you let us in," because they can't come in unless you let them.
It's permission based.
Right. You got to give them. But you know what? Most of the people in this world play with Ouija boards and all this satanic occult stuff, and they let this stuff in. They open up the door to it. They invite it. They talk to it. Just like a little girl, a ghost of a little girl. Come on. God wouldn't do such a thing to a little girl, put her in a body and turn her evil. You can better believe that if it starts out as a ghost, as a little kid, it's going to end up being a demon of huge size that's going to suck the life out of you.
Crap, man. So what you're saying is you have 6 seconds to lock and load and take one of these dudes out.
Well, they can sense things 6 seconds in advance. So what you got to do more than lock and load is get your fear under control.
Mm-hmm.
Once you got that under control, you've got him under control.
Well, see, that kind of cooperation, a guest that we had on the program not too long ago that said that Sasquatches are psychic and they can perceive whether or not you're good or evil or if you're going to come after them. And if they perceive that, then they'll go into another dimension, and that's why nobody's ever caught one.
That's right. And if you believe in God and He's in your life and everything, I know that I had a lot of control. I have a lot of control now. Then I didn't believe in God. So the stories I'm telling you are totally unbiased. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't know what to believe. I didn't know whether, Jesus Christ or God or any of that. And so I do now. So I have been confronted with entities in recent past that I overcame by overcoming my fear. Knowing what they were, knowing how they operate in my mind, knowing exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for that smell of fear and not being afraid, and they just left. It was just that simple.
Mm-hmm. Now,
they just left.
What would you suggest somebody who is being haunted by either the shadow people or Slender Man or even aliens to reduce their fear about it?
Well, my answer is bias,
All right.
But let me just tell you this: the ex-director of MUFON, look him up. They found out that using the name of Jesus Christ made some abductees had the actual feeling that they fell back into the bed and they were bouncing when they woke up. Mm-hmm. So they went through some more files and they found many cases of that was the case. And so when the guy became a believer in it, he had to resign from MUFON. Mm-hmm. But he used to be one of the directors of MUFON. And
is that Joe Jordan?
He found out that,
was that Joe Jordan?
It may have been. The one that the one that resigned not too long ago because his beliefs weren't consistent with that of MUFON.
Okay.
So he resigned.
Yeah, he wasn't doing the company
line. Reason he resigned, okay, we're on the same page. The reason that he resigned was because they went and looked in a bunch of case files. Now, they took this based on fact. And whether you believe Jesus Christ is real or not, it's real to these entities, okay? And they talked to some of these people, and they said when they were picked up, the only thing they could do is help me, Jesus, and they had the sensation that they fell through the roof and back into the bed.
Wow.
So there's got to be something to that. You understand? I'm not trying to push what I believe on anybody. I'm trying to tell you that I've seen demons and fallen angels eye to eye, looking them right in the eye. And I know what they're all about. They're all about pure evil, and they hate you so bad that they literally, one of my guys told me that one bit his hand off because he wanted to kill him so bad. Bit his own hand off.
Wow.
So that's
fear.
what you're up against.
But if you're biting your own hand off, I mean, you're immersed. You're in so much fear. You've got to be empowering them. I don't know how the guy escaped.
Yeah, no, they bit their hand off, the Reptilians.
Well, now I've had,
because this guy, there was two of the guys that were in my crew that were Christians. They never had nothing happen to them that they were afraid of. Really. And I never asked them about it, but it's pretty apparent now why. But they were, except the only instance that them boys were afraid of was that one with the time machine. And when they came out, they looked at me and says, one of these days you'll understand, but you don't know how satanic that was. Well, I didn't know about Satan and all this other stuff either, Steve. I was just unbiased. But I listened to him, and he told me that they fear God and that they had God in them, and that's why they were afraid of him. And I did notice that when they walked by, they were scared. That the entities were scared. We came in contact with shadow people, and guess what? We found out about the shadow people. When we seen these shadow people on the wall, after they left, we turned around and looked behind us, and there's two grays at the end of the hallway staring at the wall. They projected that. It was all just a facade. It was a lie. 87% of paranormal sightings of ghosts and demons inside the house, 87%, there's UFO activity that surrounds that house. 87%.
So are those UFO attacks, do they scan people's houses and they look for fear?
Yeah.
As if that's a portal into their
and they don't
dimension?
zone in. They randomly pick. I mean, they'll pick me until they find out. Sometimes they don't. They just randomly go, and they abduct people, and everybody, oh, they're not being abducted. Well, all right, then 50 or 100 million people are telling the same lie. Mm-hmm. But I have talked to people who said they weren't afraid of them, and that they were faced down with them, and there was nothing they could do about it. In fact, one guy told me that he looked out his window and seen a craft in his field and seen him walking towards his thing, and he said he just sat down and he was drinking tea, sat down in his chair and drank tea and let him look in the window all they wanted to, he said. They weren't coming in. I wasn't going to invite them.
Well, I sure hell's not going to invite him. I know there's a video out there that somebody supposedly set up a webcam and there's an alien outside the window. He kind of goes up and he comes down. I'm not sure that's real.
Yeah, I've seen it. I believe it's real.
Do you?
I really do.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. They peep in people's windows. They snoop around. I mean, they're just
freaks.
They're just
man.
evil. They're just looking for something evil to get into some way or another. And listen, these people that have these hauntings and stuff, the divide and conquer thing comes in there. You watch these on TV about, the true stories about hauntings and stuff. Mm-hmm. They divide and conquer the family, and that's how they want to destroy your life. If they can't destroy you, they want to destroy your life.
Mm. And you've come under so many attacks, but you have survived.
I have survived, and I thank God for that, and I think it was for a reason that I survived. Not everybody does. Not everybody does survive. I watched a lot of people go down, and they went down on their knees in fear, Well, I'd rather die standing on my feet being shot at than die on my knees begging for my life.
Now, you said using the name of Jesus does stop some of these attacks. I've had secular UFO people and people who have interviewed abductees make the same claim that don't believe in Jesus.
Did say the name of Jesus?
Yes, even secular people have said that alien abductions have
Yeah,
stopped.
yeah, it works. It works even secular. It did in the Bible. Remember the guy that was casting out demons in the Lord's name, and the disciples came to him and said, hey, how come he's not even a believer in you, and he cast out demons in your name? But when we went over there to do it, he beat us up and sent us home naked. It's because those guys weren't biased about it. When the disciples were, they thought, well, you know, the name of Jesus can't work for somebody else when it works for everybody.
Okay. All right, we have this question. It says, have you ever had a battle with aliens that have attempted to abduct you?
Yeah. More than one occasion I have.
Describe what
Plenty of
happens.
occasions.
Describe what happens. They come to you,
Well,
they break in your house.
Okay. First I get, you know, that people talk about that fear they get where they can't move.
Mm-hmm. Right. Paralysis like?
That's the first thing that hits you. Then, believe me, you're awake. You're not asleep. A lot of people think it was a bad dream. No, you were awake. And then I come to my right mind and I say, okay, I know exactly what's going on. And as soon as I start thinking positive and about God,
mm-hmm.
and that I'm getting ready to use this, I start being able to move, and pretty soon the whole thing just comes to an end. I listen to this. This is really weird. One time, and this little short thing, I couldn't really make it out. It was dark. Was standing on my chest, and it looked like he had something in my mouth about 4 feet long, and then he was prying on my teeth with it. Well, guess what? I woke up the next day and 2 of my back teeth were loose and bleeding. I had to go to the doctor and have them pulled.
Jeez.
Yeah. But as soon as I recognized that it was an evil entity, bam, it was gone. Never came back.
So what would you say that somebody should use the name of Jesus if they're under attack?
Yep.
And what about the Muslims? They have this thing called the jinn. Are those demons, or who are those people? Are they aliens?
They're demons. Everything about the Muslims, demons. Anybody that would do that, what they do. And yet, let me tell you this. During that raid yesterday, they grabbed all the women and children, they said, and was using them for human shields.
Of course.
They're cowards.
But you said...
They couldn't stand up to a demon if they had to.
Okay, but you said that fear sort of invites them or opens a portal. If that's the case, wouldn't the whole Middle East be filled with aliens? I mean, you know, the ISIS guys, those are some fearful freaks, and seem like they ought to be abducted.
You know, sometimes you can leave well enough alone. If they've already got them doing what they want to, and besides, if one showed up, they would think it was Allah or Muhammad. And besides that, like I say, you leave well enough alone. If you've already got them doing what you want to, steal, kill, and destroy, and cutting heads off children, women, it doesn't matter. If I was an alien that hated people, I'd be pretty happy with them myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, Greg, somebody asked, what do you see happening as far as some sort of event, cataclysmic event? Are we looking at something this year? Or, there are a lot of things going on. Like I said earlier, we got the Jade Helm thing going on. We've got, you know, lining up for Hillary to take control of the country, of the world, for that matter. You know, there's Fukushima going on. There's earthquake swarms that are happening. Are we going to see something this year that's going to devastate the planet, or do you think we're going into 2016?
I don't think that everything we're doing right now is devastating the planet. But as far as a cataclysmic event, I couldn't even venture to guess, but to tell you that it's going to be in our lifetime and probably within the decade of total destruction. Now, there's angels at play, too. Not just fallen angels. There'll be real angels at play, too. And, you know, and I have no doubt that they don't show up to people, too. But when they show up, nobody's afraid of them, you see. Mm-hmm. There is no fear.
Mm-hmm. When the Bible says that... go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, it says that there's going to come a time when a great sickle is going to be cast in the earth, and the tares will be separated from the wheat. It sounds to me like there's total destruction in that case, where everybody's going to get nuked.
Yeah, but it also says that when you see these things coming, to run. And I don't have the Bible in front of me to look at my highlights, but it says to run and think of the Lord, and He will put Jerusalem on your mind. So He does tell you to run. And remember that during the destruction of the earth, different things that the Lord did to the earth, He always saves the righteous. Mm-hmm. And everybody believing that there's a pre-tribulation rapture, I believe, is not true. I believe that's a delusion. I believe that God is perfectly, if God is God, then He's perfectly able to protect His people without having to take us away first.
Okay.
So total destruction doesn't mean everybody. Not everybody's going to die in this thing.
Well, great. We're right at the end of the program. We went over just for you. Appreciate you coming on the show. Now, we're going to have you back.
No problem.
Are you available to come back on the program?
Yeah, I'll be available after June. I'll do one with you real soon if you want me to.
Okay. All right. Look at the schedule here. Get right back with you here. Maybe tomorrow we'll try to set something up, and then we'll get you back on the program, because this is too important information that we've got to get out.
Yeah, we have to get all this stuff out, and it's just not. In my eyes, Jesus is the answer. Okay. In other people's eyes, it may not be, but not everybody that's non-Christian is going to die. Some of them are, there's going to be as many of those live as probably as there is of the Christians. So, it's a matter of survival is what this is coming down to. Survival. What are you going to do, when this comes? Are you going to live, or are you going to die? Are you going to fold? Are you going to fight or flight? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So this information has to get out for everybody to band together, otherwise everybody's going to die.
All right. Well, that's a good way to end the show right there. People do need to get together to fight these things, and a lot of people in the chat are saying they really appreciate you coming on the program. Okay. All right, Greg. Again, I appreciate you coming on the program.
All right, brother.
And we're going to get you right back on as soon as we can.
All right, brother.
All right, so stay safe out there, brother.
Talk to you then.
You bet.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody, that was Lieutenant Colonel SC, otherwise known as Greg Renstich. If you missed any of this exciting broadcast, it should begin to replay in our main player, and then we'll extract the high-def video out of there, put it and substitute it into the main player. Additionally, we'll put it in the pop-up player and podcast, and put this video up on our YouTube channel. Stay tuned for new guest announcements for next week. And like I said, we'll get Greg back on the program as soon as we can, because there is a lot more information that we have to get out to prepare everybody for what's coming. Thank you, everyone, for your great questions and staying around for the extended show. It was so important we had to skip over the 9 o'clock break. Appreciate you guys hanging in for that, because we just had to get as much information out as we possibly could. And we appreciate Greg coming back on the program as well. Daniel Ott for The Edge. Bye-bye.